Introduce Luke.
Welcome to episode number 250 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. Jim Chester, Luke Millette, and today we have Dr. Andrew White with us. Thank you very much for joining us and being our guest today.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Well, we're over the moon excited. You're a good Midwestern guy. We were just warming the mics up off the camera there and talking a little bit about Davenport, Iowa, and about where you're at up there in Holland, Michigan. And per our typical Chiro Hustle fashion, we love this first question because if nobody listens to the rest of the show, at least they know who you are. And I love the idea that people get a chance to tell their chiropractic story. And really, this is chronicling and documenting the chiropractic profession for the past 3 years. And you being episode 250, that's a milestone episode for us. So
yeah, that's cool.
Welcome to the show and tell us your chiropractic story.
Yeah. So when I was a kid, my mom was a nurse. So like a lot of my story all wraps up with my mom. So she went to U of M. Luke was just talking about he's from Ypsi in Ann Arbor area. So she went to U of M's nursing program. She was graduated, got a great job, and she threw her back out one day when I was a kid. Ended up going to her medical doctor. The medical doctor referred her to, actually took some x-rays. They saw some degenerative disc disease. They referred her to an orthopedist. The orthopedist told her she was going to need a back surgery. So she got the surgery. And then when she still had chronic pain, they ended up opting or told her to do another surgery. So she got a second. Still had pain after that. So then they ended up, giving her a new drug at the time, Oxycontin, and she ended up becoming an addict. So watching my mother just struggle with chronic pain and addiction when I was a kid really inspired me to want to help people. So at first I thought I was going to go to medical school. I was pre-med and just from shadowing providers, I didn't realize until I was in it that I had an aversion to just the pharmaceutical industry and the way that, it was just felt like every patient was coming in the door. They didn't really get much face time, and then they're often funneled into either a drug or a surgery. And at the same time, I'm an analytical guy, so looking at the healthcare statistics and realizing that, we have, I would argue, the best doctors in the world, some of the best technology. We spend more money than everyone else in the world, but we're 36th in overall health in the world. It just didn't make any sense to me. So I ended up looking at PT and chiropractic, and I ended up choosing chiropractic at the time because I had been adjusted a little bit. I played football in college and had some migraines, and so I had some success with my migraines after getting adjusted. But really the tipping point into chiropractic was just that at the time, we were the only portal of entry, meaning like PTs needed referrals, and I wanted to really reach people like my mom. So I went to chiropractic school. I had never really learned much about chiropractic philosophy or even the word subluxation before I went to Palmer. But yeah, while I was at Palmer, it really opened my eyes to the chiropractic profession as a whole, and really, just dove in. And in the back of my mind, just always thinking about my mom, it was always going to be important to me to try to deal with the opiate crisis because I just, again, looking at statistics, there's 174 people a day who die of opiates, and about 2/3 of them start taking their opiates because of back pain, and about 3/4 of that number hurt themselves at work. So I just started thinking like, okay, at first I did some lobbying in DC through like SACA and SICA when I was in chiropractic school, really trying to make change from like a systemic level. But it was just obvious that wasn't going to come from Washington. So I ended up shadowing. My next thought was like, I'm going to go learn from the best, like busiest office possible. So I ended up doing my internship with my now business partner, Dr. Eric Kowalski, up in Grand Rapids at Higher Health. He was seeing like 1,200 people a week at the time, but that's still less than like 1% of Grand Rapids, let alone, like the millions of people in the state. And it was just frustrating that every time I meet someone at a screening or a health talk or something that, they would have injuries that we could help, but we just met them too late. They're like my mom. Like my mom just didn't know she didn't know. She didn't know that someone like me could have helped her. So she ended up opting into a surgery and becoming a drug addict. So it's just like, it didn't make sense to me. It was always really frustrating. So I ended up looking at, again, the healthcare statistics and started looking into on-site corporate wellness because I felt like there's got to be a way to show employers that care about their people that, there's not only a human value in helping these employees not end up like my mom, but also the monetary value in the costs that are associated when those big injuries happen. So I ended up creating some software to measure the ROI for wellness, and really looking at the health of employees. And then we started rolling out some on-site wellness programs in West Michigan that have gone really, really well. So now we're working on expanding that. So basically contracting local providers into their own local businesses near them so that they can ideally help to end the opiate crisis. Because our vision is that if we can just continue to show businesses that, if you just spend a little bit more money and are a little bit more intentional with an on-site wellness program, you can actually prevent injuries, which then prevent prescriptions and then prevent addictions. And so that's what we're working on right now. And that's kind of my whole story wrapped up, is really just thinking about my mom and just really trying to help prevent more stories like hers by preventing the injuries from ever happening.
Such a courageous origin story.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I mean, it's something that it's raw and personal, but it's real. It's one of those things that I always tell patients, like, when we hear about the statistics with drugs and like on the news or in an article or something, we often think about the bad part of town. Jim and I were just talking about how we grew up in blue collar towns and towns that there's a lot of poverty and a lot of crime and things. And so a lot of people think, oh, that's just the bad part of town, right? Like those are the drug addicts. Those are the people that they get involved because of this or that. But in reality, it's like opiates don't discriminate. Addiction doesn't discriminate. There are plenty of people. Like my mom was a brilliant nurse, and I guarantee you, with all her ambitions that she had, she never thought, I want to become a drug addict. Like that was just never in the cards for her. She never thought that like her older son would have to try to take care of his younger siblings because of her debilitating injuries. Like that was never like in the cards for her until it was. So again, that's really like why I try to share my story, is that again, it's like these are real people. And a lot of times with back pain, it's a leading cause of disability worldwide. People injure their back every day, and they have no idea, for as good as chiropractic is, they have no idea that we can help them, or there's stigmas or random things or barriers in the way. It's like, I'm sick of it. I'm done dealing and hearing with the opiate crisis without just trying to like attack it head on with everything that we're trying to do.
Something you said there, back injuries, it's really, if people really reframed it, it's a nervous system injury. And most people are disabled because of the nervous system having a dysfunction in it, which causes a downstream effect, which causes pain receptive, and then the body starts to not adapt properly. It actually acts and adapts into a deficiency, and it goes into atrophy, and it goes into, swelling, inflammation. And then people start to say, what can I do to stop this? Mm-hmm. And it's like, it's a 5-alarm fire, and they're wanting the fire department to come put it out. And they're like, I don't care what it takes, just fix it. And that's what happens, is most people go to the other type of doctor that does prescribing, and they say, hey, just do this. But they don't realize that by them saying, hey, just do this, that it's not really actually taking the pressure off that nervous system.
Exactly.
It's actually sedating the pain to the point that somebody's still functional with that pain. And then they become dysfunctional and diseased further. And now they have psychosis of addiction. So, yeah, man, I totally understand the pain cycle that the typical patient that comes in with, just the back pain, which chiropractors, I think, have become very well known as a group of practitioners that are very effective at helping with back pain. And that's kind of like what the medical industry would hope, that they would just go and stick in a corner and just do that. But they don't realize that the chiropractor unleashes the innate potential for the body to heal naturally without drugs or surgery. Exactly. So if they just say that, then they would be like, well, how are all these people going to the chiropractor now? Well, because somebody told the truth about what they do.
Exactly.
And that's really what we're doing. And that's why catching you today on such an impactful interview, hearing your origin story of how you got into chiropractic is so valuable, because it's the same thing that I put my gloves on each day for, is if the people that did the drugs and surgery would just say, go see them first. Those are the people that are the real healers in the world. It's not this stuff, because we've seen the outcomes of what happens with this. We make sick cities, we've made a sick country, and we don't need to take more of this. We need to go to do more of that, because they're the ones that really help with the back pain, which is actually impingement on the nervous system.
Exactly.
If they just actually knew that that was the right path to go, and they would actually stand up to that and just do that and join forces and lock arms with chiropractors, we'd have a better truth in what people believe as to how their body should heal. Because there's no pill or potion or lotion that's going to make people feel long-term better. Like I always tell people when they meet me, I'm like, I never met anybody that took more drugs that had a better quality of life. Like, it just doesn't happen. You're working on a downsliding scope when you think that you're going to put something on top of a pain, especially, that's going to make it better. You have to go to the root cause.
Exactly.
So that's my soapbox with you today, brother.
We're preaching the same song, man.
Yeah. And, being able to have a conversation with you today matters, because it's very timely, because our country is reeling, and they are looking for a solution to help with. Before this whole scamdemic happened, there was a epidemic within Opiate Crisis, and that became very well known in our government and in our media. And it was something that was actually starting to get a lot of traction until this whole world shutdown happened. And I guess throughout that whole thing, how are you reestablishing chiropractic messaging within the Opiate Crisis?
Honestly, it's just, I spend a lot of time helping business owners and HR people really understand like what a subluxation is, why every single one of their employees should have an exam done. Like, because I tell people, like, it's like a ticking time bomb. It's like all your people, I guarantee, are subluxated. I guarantee it. They're dealing with it, and they are coping, or the body's adapting, because we're just have this amazing machine of a human body that is able to function. I like to joke, I'm like, we're the only machine in the world. It's like your car, you get one thing you can put in it. So you get gasoline, you got to put it in the engine, otherwise it won't work. It's like you could not eat, go run a mile. You could eat nothing but Twinkies and go run a mile. You could eat fruits, veggies, and healthy fats and go run a mile. It's like either way, your body is going to find a way to work. So I'm like, all your people are currently struggling with this thing that they don't even know exists, but it is affecting them. It's like gravity. It's like it's just because they don't see it doesn't mean it's not affecting their every move and their way that they're functioning. So it's important that we actually objectively describe and diagnose how that's affecting their bodies, so that one, we can treat them just as a human being and help them, but also put monetary costs behind that. Like there's actual ways you can objectify, like, not only is this a problem for their health, but it's affecting their work in these ways, which is affecting your bottom line in that way. And your liability is over there. It's like you can really start to show them, like, there's a lot tied into this, and there's huge ROI if you are just intentional about it. And it goes both to your cost savings, and again, to the human element that most bosses care about their people. And I think the pandemic in a way has been a blessing for me, because it's made more people than ever think about their health. People more than ever are realizing that if you have the richest man, or the man who has everything except his health, has nothing. So it's like, it doesn't matter about your 401k, the trip to the whatever. It's like nothing of that matters if you don't have your health. So people are waking up to realizing, like, I need to be healthy. And they might be going about it in the wrong way, because they're like being fed this fear in the media that's like telling them that their bodies are like these China dolls, that they have to protect themselves from everyone else. So like, that's the wrong message, but at least they're waking up to, again, that like they're more attentive to their health than ever and looking for solutions. They're looking for leaders and people to educate them about their bodies, because people, again, are like, they're waking up to that. So if nothing else, I think this is like one of the biggest like opportunities as a profession that we've ever had, because people are looking for answers more than ever. They're looking for just like a leader. They need leaders to like help them understand how their body works and speak truth into their lives, because there's so much lies and fear and manipulation happening. And some of it people are blind to, but then there's a lot of people that I've seen in my private office that are like waking up to it. They're like, it just didn't make sense to me. Like, I live in Michigan. My governor, like, dear Lord, it was just like, 14 days, guys. We got to buckle down for 14 days. And then that turned into another 14 days, which then turned into like 2 months. And it's just like, at some point, people are like, wait. Like, at first I was kind of bought into your leadership, and now I'm like, well, this doesn't make a lot of sense to me anymore. So people are slowly like, something is not adding up. So more than ever, it's like we catch those people and we can just like speak truth into them. I mean, it changes the game, because again, at the end of the day, how do you beat the pharmaceutical industry? You get to the consumer. If you can get to the consumer and change the way that they think and change their paradigm, lift the veil off their eyes and just wake them up, then suddenly you have an advocate on your hands who, when they go into the doctor, is not just like, no, I don't want that drug. Like, stop. I don't want the surgery. I want a solution. Like, that's what like we should all be doing, is like educating. So if we do that, then we can change the face of healthcare, because you are changing the consumer at the right there in that office, in the pharmacy, wherever. But it's like, so again, I think it's the most exciting time outside of when the Palmers were alive to be a chiropractor, man, because it is just, people are looking for leadership, and all we got to do is step up.
Well, it sounds like a big thing, and it sounds like something that takes a lot of people speaking the same language. And I think that that's really what makes this show that we do together so unique, is because we allow people to speak the same language consistently. Mm-hmm. And we get to that root communication paradigm, which needs to shift, is the chiropractors need to become more empowered, and they need to develop better network strategies within people that are pharmacists. They need to create better network strategies from people that are orthopedic surgeons. They need to start creating better partnerships with people that are health providers, because those are the people also that take their families to chiropractors. Mm-hmm. And those are the people also that realize that health is a matter of choice. Mm-hmm. But those are the ones that are also probably at the stage of their careers where they're not so happy with what they're seeing also. Mm-hmm. And they're like, I kind of don't, it feels like kind of like I'm doing something that isn't in my scope, but this is who pays the bills. So a lot of these people are just going and doing that thing because that's what pays their bills. Yeah. And I think we understand that, and the people that will be watching this will understand that too. But as we come through this conversation with you today, we're going to probably come to a lot of those types of those topics that people are going to be like little wake up calls for them. Mm-hmm. You know? Like, this is a question we're going to ask you, but just kind of seed it. Where is the profession going in the next 20 years? And that's a big thing, because if we don't start speaking the same language together and start, building a movement, not just in Michigan, not just in Iowa, not just in Colorado, but a chiropractic movement that starts speaking the same language, it is a very divided chiropractic culture out there that says, I do it this way, not that way. And I think that if chiropractors just said one thing, we adjust, we take pressure off the nervous system, allowing the body to heal naturally, we could get somewhere. And I think that the more simple we make it, because like you said, I'm telling people what subluxation is, I'm telling people about this, but if people didn't really understand what that means, it's like telling them what gravity means, and they make up their own word for it. Like, subluxation, they made their own word for it, and it's pain. Mm-hmm. And that's what people are constantly going towards it. I mean, if you said, hey, do you go get an opiate for what? Pain. Do you go get to the chiropractor for what? Pain. And they're synonymous with each other, but one is least invasive. So I think if we just kind of understood that as a chiropractic culture and start building better relationships with other people that we might not consider alliances, the profession would definitely start to grow from, like you said, you have to get to the consumer level. Well, the consumer level is the prescriber. And the prescriber isn't a pharmaceutical company. They're actually good humans. and they want, I'm sure, best outcomes for the people that they're working with too. But that's not the case. It's actually counterintuitive for what they're doing if they actually are trying to follow the Hippocratic Oath and do no harm.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe you could tell us, what are some of your favorite mantras or motivational quotes that keep you on purpose and fired up?
I think honestly the biggest one, I'm a Christian guy, and the reason why I started Align Well and Align IQ was Isaiah 6:8, which is, and then God asked, who shall I send? Who will go forth for us? And I said, here I am, send me. It's like I cannot stand. I got so frustrated. Like I had no idea, like Jim, when you were talking about like the riffs in chiropractic and the culture, like, you know, like I had no idea that existed when I went to chiropractic school. It's like I went to one chiropractor and I just assumed everyone adjusted like that chiropractor. I had literally no idea that there was these, it was like this new world. I was so naive. I was like, I just assumed this is what it was going to be. And I would get frustrated sometimes in school because like it becomes, it was so like people just get so angry and like they would fight. And it's like, if you just study human psychology at all, it's like, that's never the way. If I'm trying to convey to you, like, I want you to like understand my point of view and hopefully, you know, like long term, maybe help you like see the world the way I do. Like the last thing you should be doing is yelling at each other and fighting. And so I used to get frustrated because I'm just like, while you guys are like bickering and creating bigger division in our own profession, it's like there are people dying. Like there are people suffering from issues that, because we can't create a unified message, don't know we even exist. And that to me is the biggest injustice in the world. Like there's just the fact that people don't know what subluxation is. Like they've never heard of that. Like the fact that you even have to like break it down further and really get on their levels. Like the fact that most people have never heard of that. The fact that most people don't know that chiropractic affects the nervous system. It's like, these are things that are so, it's like the curse of knowledge, right? Like these are innately true to me. I know it. Like I know that there's air that I breathe. It's like, it's so intuitive. And the fact that it becomes like, I assume that most people know that, but in reality, most people don't. And you make a great point, Jim, that like, if we don't unify, if we spend so much time, I mean, it's the same thing when the Wilkes suit happened. When the Wilkes suit happened, the lawyers from the AMA talked about how their main strategy was the fact that they saw a division in our profession. So they were going to try to get us to kill ourselves. It's like they were smart. They were smart lawyers. They're like, oh, I see this weakness. I'm going to just really twist in there and just really get in and try to break this thing apart, and hopefully it'll fall apart on its own. So yeah, I mean, I just think, again, the Isaiah 6:8 quote is just like, listen, I'm sick of, I see this problem, I see this injustice. Like, I can't just wait. I can't just think like someone else is going to do this. Someone else is going to like change the world. Someone else is going to step up. I'm just going to sit back and take it easy. Like that, I just can't. I feel like I just think God is an intentional God. Like when I was a kid and I would pray for my mom to feel better and she never did, like I used to struggle in faith thinking like, how could God do that? Like, how could he exist if he won't even answer this prayer? It's so selfless. But now I know it's like, well, he could see that if I don't answer this prayer today, then that will turn into a man who will like change the lives of the people that he touches and help raise leaders and do this thing and help try to lead and change a movement. And so like, that's what I think about a lot is like, I was blessed because from a statistical standpoint, I probably should have ended up, I grew up in, again, like a blue collar town where there's friends doing drugs, my parents doing drugs. It's like, I should have ended up probably doing drugs. But the fact that I didn't, and then I had some people in my life, some other family members and other leaders that spoke into my life and helped kind of guide me through that path. It's like, I think that was intentional. Like there was grace there. There was things that like led me to where I am. And I feel like it's an obligation. Like I can't just sit on the sidelines. Like God doesn't call us to easy, and easy doesn't change the world. So why are we trying to just take the easy road? Like take the narrow path and go do it. That's like my mantra. I just think about it all the time. And I pray to God, like, God, use me, like just use me to glorify you. Like find a way to open doors where you want me to go. Just like, again, like I'm a vehicle, I'm a steward, right? That's what I try to like think about a lot. And that's kind of my mantra behind all that I do.
So how do you think the world would change if everyone started getting checked and adjusted?
I mean, in my profession, in like the corporate wellness space and like looking at like healthcare analytics, it would immediately get rid of, at minimum, the top 2 leading causes of disability worldwide, which are low back pain and headaches and migraines, because they're byproducts of subluxations. And if we could simply just remove them, then suddenly that's like also 115 people a day that would probably not die of opiates because they start taking them because of the pain caused from subluxations. So that's 42,000 people a year that would probably still be here. So like, I just think about that a lot. Like if we could just help more people, like the impact that it could make, it's almost impossible to like grasp. It's like like even thinking about, the fact that when someone is subluxated, they're in a stressed state, they're in a sympathetic state, which means they're more likely to, like lash out at their kids, to lash out at their relationships. Like, I mean, you think about like just the impact it can make on a family's life, and like like there's so many things that it would ripple out. It's almost hard to imagine like it would, the good that it would do if, like, because again, it's hard to like even grasp, but at minimum, it would save a lot of lives, a lot.
So what you're saying is if we reverse engineer this the same way that the attorneys and the AMA attacked chiropractic back in the day, and we reverse engineer this and we say we're going to go attack the system on a full offense to help sort out these 2 groups with these types of disabilities, and this is going to be our target focus. And the subluxation is going to be the secondary thing that we do and educate on, but we're going to go start to educate on the lifestyle about saving these 2 populations that are at risk. And that's really what you just said, is we have 2 at-risk populations, the back pains and the headaches. And those seems to be the people that have the most disabilities that will eventually become opiate addicts. So if we can reverse engineer this and look at those are the 2 target audiences that we should really be marketing heavy towards to help curb this, that is a solution-based decision. And that would give us the access to the people that actually need to wake up. And then they would say, wow, we've gone about this the wrong way, because this great man, Dr. Andrew White, he has a mother that became this because of that. And let's not do that to the next generation. And let's not perpetuate that type of behavior within our prescribing rights. Let's actually say we should maybe think about this whole objective of least invasive first. That makes a lot of sense. That makes so much sense. That makes so much more sense. But there's the real decision makers. There's no money in people being healthy, and that's the problem. And that's why we have this decay within our systems, is because there's only money in prescribing more. But they didn't realize that it was decaying good people and good families along the way. So we traded out the money resource for the health resource. So we need to go back, if we really want to make a healthier culture and a healthier country, is we need to go back to the health resource and stop worrying about the bottom line so much. We need to actually save lives. And
exactly. I mean,
that's the real product of a healthy culture, is saving lives and making people healthy.
Exactly. And the biggest thing, like I would say, like if there's 2 things, like, yeah, I mean, you target these issues that are like byproducts. They're a symptom of the subluxation. But then the other thing that happens is in our private offices, we focus on families and kids, because it's like, if you can just like, you get the parent in, like in the corporate, like you meet them at work, right? Like I met dad at work and educated him about this. And then he's like, oh my gosh, my kids need this. And then he refers his wife and kids into our private office. And suddenly these young kids then get to grow up into healthy adults. I mean, come on. Like that's our model right now, is like, we're like in line well, line IQ, we're in corporate wellness. We're doing this stuff, in the biz, like in their corporate business. But really that gives us access to then build trust, become like, they know, like, and trust the provider. So now they're much more likely to refer. We see on average 2 to 3 referrals coming back to our offices from these clients. And those referrals are the kids and the wives and the brothers and the sisters. They're the other people in their life, their sphere of influence. And so that's why, like, my vision for this company is it's going to help just like propel chiropractic in this massive way. Because again, it's like, it becomes a no-brainer for a business. So then, and it's a great way to boost your office. It's like, like you're doing all this other marketing. It's like, why not just get some free referrals along the way and you get these families under care? Because if you get these families under care, gosh, it's like, just raise a healthier generation of kids. Like get them, like, gosh, that's how you do it, man. You get them like when they're young and they're impressionable, they get it. I mean, they'll just become a healthy adult because they'll make better healthcare decisions, because when they grew up, they were the entire time being taught in a chiropractic office about what a subluxation is.
So this is the other vertical of marketing for chiropractic.
Yeah.
So you've already like identified the real like needs. I mean, really what you did, you told me back when you went to school, you were learning how to become a chiropractic politician, basically. You're going to learn how to lobby. You're learning how to become educated. You're learning how to fight for a cause. And these are the 3 causes I think that are real essential to the future of chiropractic. Is there needs to be a change of the guard. There needs to be a massive change of the guard for the homes, number 1, but for the providers, number 2. And if we can change the way that the next generation starts their families and builds their homes together, that's a big thing. And getting into that generational, we talk about generational wealth, but nobody really talks about generational health. And if we can create the next generation to start to curb back to be more healthy than the preceding generation before them, now we're actually making an impact. Exactly. And that's what chiropractic has the full capacity of doing. And the full capacity is everybody that's a chiropractor with a DC after their name to start with initiatives, to start working together, not just somebody that's like, damn, I'm really good and I can create software in this for this reason. But the thing is, there's a lot of egos floating around in chiropractic that even if you have the best software in the world, they wouldn't support you. And that's a problem. And they should all be a little bit more soft-hearted to say, hey, you know what? Dr. Andrew has something really amazing that can help the whole profession. And it's not just some subset of chiropractors that are using it. Like these things that you're talking about, these initiatives should be definitely things that others consider as like a full chiropractic initiative. And that's why we're just making little splash efforts here and there. We're making little splash efforts with chiropractic messaging in different little sectors. And that's why, when people have an initiative to tear chiropractic down, they want to divide it further. And, I think that what you're doing is brilliant. And I didn't know half of the initiatives that you actually were building your platform off of. But I think the more and more that we create our show, we're going to 1,000 episodes, man. Like we're going to keep on going until people start to understand that chiropractic is safe, affordable, and effective. Our job, our primary mission is to keep free speech alive in the chiropractic profession, to where the a-holes up top that want to rub out subluxation and innate intelligence, they don't have the ability to, because we've saturated the market with truth.
Exactly. And that's the other, that's the other vision behind like Align Well, was just that, like, gosh, there are amazing providers, just like subluxation based, amazing providers, changing lives in their communities every day. Like every day they're doing just amazing work. Like I'm going to I want to catapult them. Like I want them like in local businesses, just like treating people, getting rid of subluxations, educating people. Then that can impact more families, more kids. You asked me 20 years where, like, what do I see? Like, I just see, like, I'm not, I want the profession to have unity. Like that's something I want, but I'm not, right now, that's not my focus on worrying about like who I'm going to offend by talking about subluxation. Like I don't care. So what I'm focusing on right now is what I can control, going back to like the Isaiah 6:8. And what I can control right now is creating systems and procedures and communication that every business I talk to says this is a no-brainer, let's do it. And I say, great, let's find a training provider near you that's going to just deliver this for you. And if we can do that, gosh, I mean, you're talking about like a just shift in this profession that is like the numbers will speak for themselves. That's why I'm so like, that's why I created the software. I'm just like, I'm sick of people saying like, oh, chiropractors don't do this. It's like, oh, BS, man. Because like, look at this data. Tell me the tens of thousands of people that had that symptom that no longer do. Like, what else changed? They were getting adjusted. Subluxations were getting removed, and suddenly this got better, this got better, this got better, this got better. Are you done telling me that I don't affect the nervous system? How many ways do I need to show you? How much data do you want to see? How many stories do you want to hear? Like, that's where I see the profession going, is that we just get to a point where it is just a no-brainer to like do this stuff, and then it'll change the world, period. It'll change the world because it'll force people to just, you get so big they can't ignore you, get so good they can't ignore you. That's like, I just keep thinking that, like, oh my gosh, if we just do that, if we just get more people in front of these docs, it'll just change the world, period.
Well, I don't know how many people have ever told this to you, but you're a powerhouse, man. And you have more potential than you know. And you have a greater opportunity right now than ever before. And I don't know if you needed that attaboy or that confidence, but when I hear what you're saying, the chiropractic profession needs more of what you're doing.
Thanks, man. Appreciate that.
So who have been some of your heroes and inspirations on this journey of yours?
My dad is a big one. My dad, he taught me hard work. He was there for me throughout all the issues with my mom. And then like, I had some great family that like really loved me and cared for me and were able to really support me to get to where I am. A couple of like just bigger names that I've never met before, but impacted my life in a big way. Someone that a lot of you may have never heard of before is Joshua Chamberlain. He was a captain in the Civil War, but he was, anyone that's watched the movie Gettysburg, he's in that movie. But he was the guy that chose to charge in Gettysburg. Have you guys seen the movie Gettysburg? Have you seen that movie?
I think I have.
A long time ago, maybe. Anyways, if you rewatch that scene, you just look at like fixed bayonets. If you typed it in on YouTube, it's like a scene where basically those of you who aren't history buffs, like the Gettysburg, the rebels were, the Confederate Army was kind of on their final push, and the Gettysburg was the far left flank of the army, meaning that if they fall, then they can flank Washington and basically win the war. And so they had one little outpost in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, and they were like a couple hundred men that were trying to hold the line. And part of the Confederate Army of thousands of men ended up coming there. And the only advantage that the Union Army had was that they had the high ground. And so they had wave after wave coming up, and they got to the point where they ran out of ammo. And so they had two choices. Do I retreat or do I stay and die? And Joshua Chamberlain, who's leading that, knew that if they retreat, then that basically means the war is over. A lot of historians point to Gettysburg as like that pivotal point that pushed the Union ahead. And he told his men, fix bayonets, meaning put the bayonets in the end of your rifle, and we're going to charge down the hill. If we're going to lose, then we're going to at least go out like running at them, running at the adversity. I'm not going to run away. And what happened was when they charged, the Confederates assumed this must be reinforcements. They can't be the same men that we've been fighting for the previous hours, because like we knew they were about to fall. And so they ended up surrendering to Chamberlain. So that one man who made one decision changed the world in more ways than we can all even imagine. Because if he did not choose to make that, there's a good chance Union would have lost. So who knows what the United States would look like. But I point that out just to say, again, I always go back to Isaiah 6:8. One man decided to make one decision that changed the lives of millions of people. And he didn't know it at the time, but he just decided to take action and go, and he changed the world. And so I just think about that a lot. Like, you never know what decision you make today could impact the lives of who knows tomorrow. And so that's why I always choose to act. Like I'll never, if I have to fight between inaction and action, I'm always gonna act. The other person is probably Tony Robbins, which is, everybody knows that name. But I can tell you the day and time that I first consumed his content and his message around story in particular, how we all have limiting beliefs. Before I heard him, my mom's story was always a limiting belief. It was a negative in my life. It was something that I always thought held me back. But because of him, it completely changed the vision of how I saw my past, and it really inspired me. And I realized it was this gift. And so again, that's, if I could choose to like sit down with someone for an hour anywhere in the world, that'd be him. And I would just thank him because I never met him before that time, but he changed my life and made a huge impact in my life.
This interview is amazing. We've done a great number of interviews over the past 3 years, and just hearing your story is powerful. I'm looking forward to your family members hearing this, and your practice members hearing this, and your colleagues hearing this, because I think that your perspective on life is really, you've worked hard for it, and it didn't come easy. And those are the best stories in the world, is the underdog.
Yeah.
And, me, I was never supposed to be an educated man. And, hearing about your underdog story of becoming now a young doctor that has the whole world in front of him now. And I think you're just one connection away or two connections away from really making a big movement with your initiatives. And I think, all the people I get a chance to talk to, it's vast. And if you look at like my daily calendar of like how many interactions I have on a day, it's pretty intense. So to actually step away from all of that and to just focus on this one thing, I feel very blessed to be able to connect with you today. And I love how you keep on circling back to the biblical scripture, because a lot of times people take God out of the household too. And when they take God and health out of the household, the outcome isn't what most people are curious to have. The outcome is definitely something that isn't around the dinner table anymore, and it doesn't have a high standard of ethics around the household. So when you bring God back into the house, and you bring real health back into the house, you have a healthier family and you have a healthier unit. So I think a lot of the things that you circle back to, you're defending of freedoms of people to have good health, and you're defending of people to have good solution outcomes. All comes back to your Isaiah quote. It's pretty awesome to hear how you don't off track too far from what your real core beliefs are.
Yeah, thanks, man. Appreciate it. Yeah, it's Eric, my business partner and I, Eric, we consider ourselves kingdom business owners, like truly, that we are stewards for our business. Everything we do is for the glory of God. Like our businesses are here and blessed because, again, like God blessed us with the ability to lead our teams and do what we're doing. And it is truly a blessing. And it wouldn't exist without God. So all glory goes to him, period. And like the impact that we are making is for the glory of God. It's not for the glory of Andrew White or Eric Kowalski or anyone else. It's like truly, it's a gift. Like I'm blessed to be where I am, and I have a lot of blessings in my life. I have abundance in my life. It's things that, again, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have it without God.
So when you're not saving lives, what kind of things do you like to read and listen to, and what are some of your hobbies? What do you do for fun?
So I'm married. My wife Chelsea. We have a daughter Eleanor. She's 2.5. We when we scheduled this podcast, my son Matthew is due to be born any day. So I was like, man, I really hope he doesn't come at like 1:30 Eastern time. But yeah, so any day we should be having my son Matthew. So that keeps me super busy. When I'm not, working on the businesses, it's usually just really intentional, being a husband and a father. As far as other hobbies, I love to work out. I do CrossFit, being active, hunt, just anything to kind of get outside. Things that I read, I do a lot of things on Audible or listen to podcasts like this one, because it's just a great way to feed my mind when I'm active. And I play guitar. That's probably the other thing. I've been playing guitar for like 20, going on 22 years now.
And where can people go if they want to learn more about you and what you're doing?
So my Instagram, if they're interested in learning more about, they want to get connected into, corporate wellness in their area, they want us to help them, get into a local business, or just you want to connect with me for anything I talked about, message me on there. It's probably the best way.
What's your handle?
It's a white 70. And then, my website's gethigherhealth.com is our private practice. And then Align IQ is our software, Align IQ.
Well, Dr. Eric, or Dr. Andrew, sorry, I had Eric Kowalski's name in my head, but thank you so much for being our guest today. I think, a lot of people are going to walk away from this and they're going to feel a huge amount of connection. And that's what I could ever hope to do with a journalistic approach with podcasting. I mean, there's a lot of podcasts out there and a lot of people that are creating new shows left and right. I'm very happy to say that we've created a cornerstone for the chiropractic profession with our show.
Mm-hmm.
And the truth will always win. And that's what I love most about what Luke and I are accomplishing together is we get a chance to produce truth messages.
Yeah.
And the origin story of chiropractic is something that's so valuable. And so many people forgot how to tell the story. And they think that telling the story was only to their practice members, or telling the story was only to the people on stages that are attending conferences. But telling the story has to be done like this as well.
Agreed.
And this is how we start to bridge the gap between the public and the practitioner more frequently. And people are going to start to realize that the chiropractors are really nice people. And they just want to see a better change in our culture. And they're really great, amazing, intentional doctors. And you're going to get hands-on approach, and you're not going to get some scare care where people have, rubber gloves on or plastic gloves on before they touch you. Now you're going to get a real exam with a real doctor that's going to be really interested in your outcomes. So thank you for being our guest today.
Yeah. If I can just leave your guests with a parting thought, it's something that I've thought a lot about with just everything going on with the pandemic and everything right now, which is have the courage of David, just like someone that in the face of like a Goliath or a giant of something that you just feel like you feel like you're unworthy to try to tackle, just like have courage, be bold. Your God equipped you to a mission or a purpose. Like you have a purpose, you have value. And then just have the unwavering faith of Paul, man. Just like be so sold out. Just know that again, like you are serving something that's bigger than you. And every life that you impact in your practice, it's an intentional thing. You were called to do what you do. Just go out there and be bold. Like more than ever, we need to be bold as a profession. We gotta go out there and have courage to just speak truth to people, even when it's uncomfortable.
That's powerful stuff.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Appreciate that. Well, thank you for being our guest today, Dr. Andrew. And this was a great episode. And we just want you to enjoy the rest of your afternoon, all right?
Thanks. Number 250. Big one.
250.
And we'll pray for a healthy delivery for your new one.
Thank you. Yeah, we're having a home birth, man. So it's going to be good.
Well, thank you for being our guest today. And I know I said that about 3 times, but I'm really thankful for our connection today. And I think that by knowing you, we're going to be able to do better work together in the future.
Agreed.
Take care.
Thanks.
Have a good day now.